it brings it all together. We have scars that we carry, and just because the scars are there doesn't mean that we're any less than what we were. Right now, I'm the best version that I ever have been of myself. I can embrace the brokenness.
You wouldn't go into battle alone. You don't have to fight this alone. Visit woundedwarriorproject.org/notalone.
When it comes to vaping, the truth can get clouded. So let's make it clear. Vaping is not safe for kids, teens, or young adults. It's just not.
Because vaping can put microscopic particles into your lungs.
And dangerous things like metals and volatile organic compounds into your body.
And nicotine, the same highly addictive substance found in regular cigarettes.
Nicotine can harm a person's brain development through their mid-20s,
affecting learning, memory, attention, and impulse control, and priming the brain for other addictions.
Vaping products also come in kid-friendly flavors that can make them appealing to youth.
And many kids also use other drugs, like marijuana, in vaping devices.
With appealing flavors, high nicotine levels, and lots of promotion on social media,
many kids think vaping is harmless, but it's not.
So talk to your kids about the risks of vaping, because when you talk, they hear you.
You're listening to 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge.
Welcome to The Entrepreneur Life with attorney and author Rocco Cozza, along with realtor and podcaster Eric McKenna. Content and sponsorship are being provided by Rocco Cozza and Eric McKenna. Now let's join our show host for today's program on Beaver County Radio.
And welcome to The Entrepreneur Life. Rocco Cozza, Matt Dursick, Eric McKenna. It must mean it's, what, I don't know, gents, it's Saturday at 10:30.
Yep.
What show number is this?
21.
21.
Like Roberto Clemente's number.
Like my son's age in a couple weeks.
Oh, gee.
Yeah, I know.
Et Domine Patre Spiritus Sancti. Blessings.
Well, we're going to Vegas a couple weeks afterwards, so I won't be on air that weekend. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not going to be calling in.
Yeah, I think we're going to try to figure out a way to get him on air from Vegas.
I'm pretty sure.
You keep saying that. I don't think it's going to work.
If we could find a way to live stream us, we'll probably still be awake from the night before, I'm assuming.
Well,
Probably.
I'm banking on that, which is going to make
That's never a good sign where it's probably awake. We're not sure.
Make the show
I mean, it'll be 7:30 in the morning there.
True.
And I mean, listen, I've done it before.
Yeah, we're going to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to definitely do it. I'm not letting him get out.
If there's a button over there, Matt, that you can hit before because I'm
you
should probably start practicing that button quite a bit.
Oh, I've gotten to practice.
Especially if he lost the night before, yeah. Yeah, if he has a big night the night before, I'm sure I'll be in a great mood.
Either way, there'll be inappropriate FCC language, I'm sure.
Yeah, we got to play it safe.
Yeah, we'll play it safe.
This is our safe place. Matt keeps us legal for the most part.
I do my best.
Safe space, man. Safe space.
Gentlemen, thank you for reconvening here at the Meeting of the Mindless. And we're going to talk today about entrepreneurship, as we always do in a roundabout kind of way. But today we're going to focus on, and this is Rocco's call. Kind of hashed it out over the week. And, we have a couple different ideas banging around in these brains of ours. But we really want to touch on discipline. And we have in prior shows, but not really deeply.
Yeah, let's get into like the mechanics of discipline. That's really what I'm talking about, right? So we've talked about having discipline in certain things in business as an entrepreneur, but really I think opening up a little bit and talking about the disciplines we have and the things that we've tried in the past, that the technicalities or the operational side of discipline. That's where I want to go. And it will probably divert 26 times in the next 2 hours. So
which I'm banking on.
We're banking on that, but we always start with a plan.
So I would open it up and say that if you are a rather, and again, the judgment is not coming from the outside in. The judgment can only come from the inside out, meaning what I'm about to say, you as a potential entrepreneur candidate need to self-evaluate and come to the conclusion. But what I'm going to say is, if you are a generally undisciplined person going into entrepreneurship, just the act of going in there is not going to magically make you a disciplined person. As a matter of fact, it may work the opposite way.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'll say you're dead on arrival. If you, because to be an entrepreneur, honestly, you have to have some level of discipline going into the journey, or you're done. Because you cannot. I don't believe if you are a completely undisciplined person, meaning you just get up every day and just do whatever.
You careen from wall to wall.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. That's more colorful.
That's the Jim Rohn ways.
Yeah, that's more colorful. But I think if you're that type of person, then trying to start a business or, be an entrepreneur is almost impossible, because to be an entrepreneur, to build it, like I look at myself right now. I was having a discussion this week. I'm able to do all the things I do in a day, like the crazy amount of stuff, because I have disciplines and habits I've built prior to being an entrepreneur.
Like a broad mechanism.
Correct. Like these were habits I built in my mid-20s. When I became a lawyer, I started reading personal development books. I said, to really be successful in anything, I need to create certain habits. I tried stuff, I got rid of stuff, and I've kind of built this framework now in my life where these are the habits I have that make me or give me the ability to do all the things I do every day. That's where you got to start.
No, 100%. Matt, what about just disciplines in life in general? And speaking from a younger person there, I was harped on as being a very undisciplined person growing up. And my parents hated it. I mean, I didn't have the label of ADD on me. I'm kind of glad they didn't place that label on me. They basically kicked my butt until I kind of figured it out. But I still fight laziness. I still fight.
Oh yeah.
I fight. I want to be. I yearn to be undisciplined. It's just that I know that to get where I want to go or to get the things that I need for my family, I have to have a certain amount of discipline. And then sometimes, when you're on a goal, it feels good to be disciplined because you see the goal in front of you.
Yeah.
Even if it's not a financial reward.
Yeah.
Like exercising. And I've incorporated that regimen in my life because it makes me feel better.
And that's what I was going to say too, is that the element of, discipline and regimen is the key part of it, because I know for a lot of people growing up, they it was a matter of either just getting it done, getting that next thing. I think there's a lot of elements, not just in family life, but I think in the education system that are very much more oriented on goals than they are on they put the focus more on the goal and getting something done
100%
than they would on the regimen. I think for a lot of people, they have to sort of reverse osmosis that later on. I don't know if that's the proper term, but we'll go with it.
1-0.
I like that, man.
To sort of reverse osmosis themselves, like, okay, it can't be about the goal. It has to be about the regimen.
Yeah.
And I think, too, and I'll throw this out to you guys, do you think it is how often do you think it is that people don't understand that mechanism of discipline until they reach a point where they end up getting, embarrassed or humbled to the point where it's like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I have to start doing it.
Yeah, a lot. I think that happens a lot to people. Because to your point, Matt, what you said about the regimen, I think the process should be the goal, right? Because if you build the right process and disciplines, the goals become the byproducts, right? But I think to your point, Matt, to the question, a lot of people get to that point where they they get humbled in life and realize, okay, I have to change. Something has to, and I've done that myself. Where I know, like, I mean, just through COVID, I got way out of shape, and I was, but I did, like, but I did,
but I did
to
your standard,
to my standard,
yes,
right? But that humbled me, and I'm like, wait a minute, like, I've got to get back into. I lost a couple of the habits.
Rocco shape.
Well, it's not. No, I look at it from like I have people relying on me, right? I have a firm to run, so I know to operate at the level I operate, I have to be in the best physical and mental health I can be in for a 45-year-old man. Now, when COVID happened, some of the disciplines and habits I had, I let fall by the wayside, and that humbled me. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I looked in the mirror. I'm like, who are you? Like, where did you come from? And then I had to snap back in place. And that's right to your point, Matt. I went through that just in the past year and a half.
Yeah, I did the same with COVID as well too. I looked in the mirror and I didn't like what I was seeing. Not just the physical part of me, just didn't like the person I was seeing.
Who you were. Yep.
Yeah, and not that I was a bad human being. I don't think I was out hurting anybody, but I wasn't moving toward goals I had set for myself.
Yeah.
Or at least the goals I thought I wanted.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so, but the point is, to your question, Matt, oftentimes the act of being humbled in regards to lack of discipline revolves around money for a lot of people. It's like they realize when they're in so deep, they've been very undisciplined with their money, careless with their money, and then they're in so deep, and all of a sudden the humble comes, they end up in bankruptcy court, or they end up with a mea culpa moment where they've got to realign everything. You hope they eventually get there.
Yeah.
I'm an example of that. I mean, I flew by the seat of my pants, ran a great business, traveled all over the place, didn't get a good attorney, didn't have a good accountant, kind of winged everything myself, and I found myself when the economy sank and when the company got bought out and my main vendor kind of went away, I wasn't prepared to weather those storms. I should have been. I should have been prepared to say, okay, this vendor's failing me. I got a great business model. Here's the history of it. Here's the nest egg. Let me go find another company that can be even better than the one I had. I wasn't positioned financially because of lack of discipline to carry the Boogie Street name, and it ended. It's on me. I can blame the economy. I can blame the external forces. But in the end, had I put mechanisms in place, easy mechanisms, along the way, no, I was just having too good of a time. So again, we're humbled by our lack of discipline. And usually it's, I think, oftentimes related around the mismanagement or the carelessness of our resources.
Yeah, I mean, that's really it. I mean, that's a big part of it, right? It's that carelessness and, when let me take a step back. So talking about this, being humbled by lack of discipline, I think, one, that happens to everybody, at some point in time. When you, why is my voice all messed up today, man? I feel like yours is too.
But he's sitting over there with a full bottle of water. He hasn't opened yet, so I'm trying to figure that out.
Well, listen. Sorry, man.
And he brought the water. That's even further perplexing to me.
Okay, back to discipline.
Okay,
let's take it back on the road. So what I'm saying, I think everybody gets humbled by lack of discipline in life because you don't wake up. You're not born with discipline, right? It's where I think people get humbled.
Don't you know a couple of people though that kind of make you think they were? I mean, I know some people that are like uber disciplined. Like,
but I think
came out of the womb like that.
But that comes with time. Like I look at it, I believe in what they call habit stacking. Like to build disciplines, right?
Habit stacking.
Yeah. So there's actually some books out there written about this. But what they're talking about is too many people when they get into, we'll use entrepreneurship as the example.
Okay.
They think they have to have all these disciplines. Like I've got to schedule my calendar. I got to block time. I got to get up early. I got to meditate. I've got to journal. I've got to work out. They say start with one. Do that for a week or 2 weeks. Stack the next habit on top of it. Because I think people get humbled, one, by either lack of discipline, lack of habits, or trying to do too much all at once. Like they go from not working out at all to saying, I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week, 3 hours a day. They do it for 2 days and they don't see a gym for 2 years. So it's like you got to take things you got to put the right processes in place because life will humble you eventually. So to build those disciplines, like I think the most effective strategy I've used myself and other people I know is that habit stacking, taking one thing and doing it for a week or two, then saying, okay, I figured out how to manage that part, add the next thing on, and then you start building. Then the discipline just becomes easy. It becomes second nature.
It's because it's all interconnected.
Right. Yes.
We try to deny that all these factors of our life are individual components, but they're all interconnected.
100%. And like with getting up early, like I'm an early person, so I used to get up at 5:30. Then I'd push it back to 5:15. Now I usually get up between 4:30 and 4:45. But I didn't just automatically say one day I'm going to get up at 4:30. I was getting up earlier and earlier, and then I just kept pushing the time back a little bit more, knowing that if I did that, I could get those minutes to do something else. But that's part of like building those disciplines in place.
I would say, and I'm hearing all the things you're saying, Rocco, and I'm 100% on board with it. But something that snapped in my mind is, because the question then becomes, okay, well, if it's required to succeed, particularly as an entrepreneur, but just in any part of your life, if discipline is required to succeed, why don't people do it? And it occurred to me that a lot of people will do it because of the negative, and it's not a great excuse, but it is a realistic one, is that a lot of people, because like you said, Rocco, nobody's born with discipline, nobody's born disciplined. They have to learn discipline. And for a lot of them, the source where they learn discipline might be so negative that to them to implement that on themselves just feels like, why would I become the person that I once hated?
Yeah, I think by the time you become 18 or 19 years old, when the world is there. It doesn't mean you're worldly. You're not at that age.
Not at all.
But you're now at the responsible point where you've got to make decisions that's going to best serve yourself.
Yeah.
And that sounds logical, right? But we don't cultivate children today.
No, not at all.
To be ready to make that decision. Like, we're not, as adults, we're not helping them understand that, there's a great amount of ownership going to come with your own life when you're 18. We coddle them into their 20s and sometimes into their 30s. And those formal disciplines either don't evolve or they happen much later, and there's wasted years.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let me just say this, too. One, it's hard. Being disciplined is hard. That's why not many people do it. That's why successful people are the 1% or the 3%, right? Because if it was easy to do, if it was easy to have these disciplines in place, to build a successful business, to be a successful entrepreneur, to be a successful anything, everybody would be successful. Everybody would be. But do you think I like getting up at 4:30 in the morning? No, not at all. But it's hard every single day. When that alarm goes off, I'm like, got to get up. And there's certain things I do every morning. Do I like doing them? Maybe, but not really. It's discipline, but it's hard. But I know if I don't do this, if I don't do these things or wake up at this time, my day is off. And I'm not going to be as effective or productive. And there are people relying on me, clients relying on me, employees relying on me. I have to be on my game all the time. Discipline is the hardest thing in the world, but it also gives you the most freedom.
It does. And I think that Matt has talked on this show multiple times about the immediacy of the younger generation too, which again, I'm not blaming them because they're kind of, in all honesty, they're kind of growing up in an environment which kind of spits immediacy to them all the time. Absolutely. So it's easier for them to be conditioned to expecting it or wanting it. I get it.
Yeah.
I fall trapped to it too. I like my feeds on social media as a 50-year-old guy, 56-year-old guy. I like that, so it's a human component. But there's nothing immediate about the benefits of discipline. You can have immediate action and you can feel like a little bit of immediate gratification maybe in the first couple of days, but the real benefit of it is in the future.
Yes.
And you have to be somewhat of a personal visionary to understand the importance of it. You got to want something. Call it a carrot out there it's dangling. Call it whatever you want, but there's got to be a reason, a motive to go do this. And you would think with entrepreneurship, this idea you had that you want to bring to fruition, you're going to be tested now how badly you really want this idea to become to fruition.
Well, yeah, and I mean, and that brings two books that I think are extremely important to read for any entrepreneur out there, and they're both really the same premise, The Compound Effect and The Slight Edge. Those two books talk about doing the little things every day and not seeing the result immediately, but you will see the result. And I can't remember which book it is, but they give an example in the beginning. They said they take two guys and they compare them and say, one guy comes home every day, sits on his couch. They both, the same health, same weight, same height, same body composition. One guy comes home every day after work, watches TV, eats a bag of chips for a year. Another guy comes home from work, watches TV, then goes out and does a walk for 30 minutes every day. 1 month later, they look exactly the same. 2 months later, they look exactly the same. A year later, the guy that's walking every day lost 20 pounds. The guy that sat on the couch and ate chips every day gained 20 pounds. For the first couple months, you don't see anything. Everything, the variables are there, but the result is the same. It's over time you start seeing that hockey stick effect. And that's what disciplines do. You have to commit to the process, not to the outcome. If you commit to the process, the outcome is the byproduct. But too many people want to see the outcome first. And then they'll say, well, if I see I'm getting results, I'll keep doing the discipline. And that's the wrong way to think about it.
It's a lack of sophistication in simple thought.
Sure.
Sophistication doesn't mean elitist, or it doesn't mean the connotation of the word sophistication is not highbrow. It's not what I'm talking about. Sophistication is simply just a little more complex than the average bear.
Yes.
Meaning that, it isn't real rocket science to figure out, hey, these disciplines will stack, and if I put these three together over a period of time, I know inside I'm going to see the results, but you have to convince your mind and your body to do it.
Exactly. It's you
have to be mature enough and sophisticated enough to understand it's a process.
Yes. And that's why I tell anybody I talk to when they're talking about how to accomplish anything, goals, commit to the process. Just commit to the process. So if you want to lose weight or save money or start a business, figure out the 3 to 5 things you need to do every day and say, for the next year, I commit to doing those 3 to 5 things every single day. And I guarantee the result will come. But too many people will do it, and after a month, don't see anything.
And why is that?
Why do they stop? Because, it's the immediacy.
Yes.
It's the immediacy.
Why do we find it so hard to overcome that in 2022?
I think it's because, again, you talk about the immediacy of social media. I also think it's the audience aspect of social media where, and I think that it involves discipline too. And it's not necessarily something that requires social media to be part of it, but I think there's this element to, if I try to do something like losing weight, if I try to do something like that and I don't have results to show anybody, then I don't, but the reality is it doesn't matter. You have to do it for yourself. You have to do it for you. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with discipline, especially at an older age, is that you have to do your disciplines for yourself. You can't do it to impress anybody else.
Maybe it's easier at an older age. Maybe
once you I mean, he hit it on the head. You are exactly right, Matt. You're only competing against yourself,
right?
And you have to change your framework. You have to, because you're right, Matt. With social media, people are looking at, what can I show the world that I'm doing? And if I'm not getting the results fast enough, I'm going to jump to the next thing. Can't look at it like that.
And that brings about a whole other philosophy in regards to competition.
Yeah.
And we're gonna get into that.
Another diversion.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that for sure. Friends, the Entrepreneur Life. Matt Durzik, Rocco Cozza. I am Eric McKenna. This is 95.7 FM and 99.3 FM, and of course that comprises 1230 WBVP and 1460 Super Talk WNBA. Always presented by our friends at St.
At least we got it out of the way early.
St. Barnabas. Always streaming live at beavercountyradio.com. Thank you for making us a small part of your Saturday. We will be right back.
You've been told you have neuropathy. Tired of the burning, numbness, tingling? Tri-State Neuropathy Centers in Beaver get results.
My legs were on fire from my toes to my knees. They were numb. I've gone to 46 doctors. I was desperate. Believe me, I was desperate. I would do anything to get better because my life wasn't the life I wanted. It's the first time I'm able to walk. I couldn't walk more than 3 or 4 steps. Now I can walk blocks.
And I went to doctors and they'd give me pills. My improvement has gone 60% and I'm on my way to 100%.
You're invited to a peripheral neuropathy seminar hosted by Dr. Sean Ritchie and Jared Yevans of Tri-State Neuropathy Centers. Reservations are required for this 2 p.m. August 24th seminar at the Hampton Inn in Monaca. Seating is limited. Reserve your spot today and learn about successful neuropathy treatments. Call 724-384-8315. That's 724-384-8315 to attend the free August 24th seminar.
What is dedication?
I am the father of a 9-year-old little girl and a 6-year-old little boy, and I find fatherhood both relentlessly challenging and relentlessly rewarding. My daughter is biological and my son is adopted. I love them both so much, from the morning when you wake up to putting them to bed at night. And every moment in between, it really is so special, and boy, is it exhausting. One thing that I fear about being a parent is the future for my children. I think a parent's job is to protect our children, but also prepare them for the world so they become good, kind human beings. But I'm also hopeful that the future holds a more inclusive and compassionate world for them.
That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Now entering our 75th year of serving Beaver County. You're listening to 99.3 FM, 95.7 FM, 1230 WBVP and 1460 WMBA. Part of the St. Barnabas Radio Network.
All right, we're back. Rocco Cozza, Matt Durzik. I am Eric McKenna, The Entrepreneur Life, Beaver County Radio. We are talking about disciplines and how that is such an important concept. I can't even call it a skill. It's a concept. It's something that needs to be really examined on the human level. If you are not a very quote-unquote disciplined person in general, but it's interesting when people say that, Rocco, they talk about, well, I'm just not a disciplined person, or that person's not a disciplined person.
Yeah.
It's funny how humans find discipline for things they really want.
Well,
and sometimes
yes.
it could be, a new car. It could be a box of Twinkies in the other room.
Yeah.
They'll find enough discipline to go get it. I mean, it's like we find discipline.
If you want something,
sometimes it doesn't serve us well.
I always say if you want something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. When it comes to disciplines, that's really what it boils down to. And everybody's disciplines are different, right? And you've got to look at what's motivating them to have those disciplines. Like if someone walked in my office, they'd be like, "This dude is not disciplined at all. It looks like a tornado went off in here." But that's just how I work, right? Like I have things everywhere, but there are frameworks in my day that I do every single day that gives me the ability to know where all those papers are, know what's going on. But if you define discipline by the way an office looks or the way a person operates, like people would walk in my office and be like, "This is the most unorganized, undisciplined person in this firm." Yet I'm the one running the firm. So you kind of got to figure out what works for that person. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. And I think too, and you guys were both sort of hinting on it, was that a lot of the problem with discipline, at least from a cultural perspective, is that there's this creative aesthetic that sort of is painted when you hear the word discipline. People hear discipline and they think it has to be I got to be an aggressive talker and
has to be
have to organize everything.
Everybody right now, people discipline. David Goggins.
Right, yeah,
no one lives like that.
No, I mean,
if that's discipline, I'm out.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, they have to clean like Mary Poppins and they have to yell like George C. Patton. Like, no, you don't have to do that.
Okay, so let's talk about that motivation, finding motivation. Oftentimes, where Matt was going with it, I wanted to even carry it a bridge further. We are looking at motivation at someone else's interpretation of what motivation is or should look like. Like Rocco just says, someone might walk into his office and see things appear to be in disarray.
Yeah.
In reality, in his scheme and the way he works, not at all.
I know where everything
But they don't know all the backdrop of everything that happened in that day, his system.
Yeah.
But that's the whole point, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can one person look at another person and then judge their discipline? Now, if you have a tapestry of your public life that's in disarray and things aren't going well for you and things are bad, I mean, we can make an assumption there's probably not a lot of good self-serving disciplines with that person. But generally speaking, to make a value judgment that discipline is only the way I see it, that's the most ludicrous thing in the world.
Yeah.
But that happens a lot in society. We want to let other people determine how I can be disciplined. No. It starts here. It's a beautiful thing. You have an open palette to create how you want to run your life.
Yes.
Right? Don't let other people tell you how to be disciplined. That's so important, especially to an entrepreneur.
Yeah, you're the CEO of your own life. I mean, that's
100%.
really it. And you've got to find what works for me will not work for someone else. I'm the type of person where I like to get up early because I have certain things I do in the morning. Like literally the same routine. I wake up, I exercise, I read, I play a brain game, I play a language game, and I meditate. And when I get to the office, I journal. Like that's every single day. That's part of that. That's just things I do. That's not going to work for everybody else. Somebody else may start their day automatically responding to emails from the night before. At night I have certain disciplines. You've got to find what works for you because it comes from within. Like everybody, like you're a night owl, right? I mean, I am not. Like I'm an early bird. So your discipline system would not work for me and vice versa.
Right.
And that's what you have to do. You have to, you got to find what motivates you inside. Like what is the reason that you are trying to build disciplines? If it is starting a business, great. If it's, to get your life in order, great. But you've got to find that internal motivation, that why. Because when you know what that is, the disciplines are easy to build.
Yeah, and starting them sounds like work. And that's why people don't do it because it sounds like it's going to be work.
Yeah.
The funny part about it is if you, like you said, you take those little tiny steps, it gets exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you it's going to become exciting, but until you actually do it, you don't feel it. But I'm telling you, watching those disciplines build and seeing results. Look, they might not be visible results like your story there.
Right.
To other people, but who cares? You're not doing it for other people. Right. In the moment you tell yourself finally that you have the awakening that you're not doing it for anyone else other than yourself, your mind will explode.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing all this stuff, or if you're living your life for somebody else or a group of people, or you're looking for approval elsewhere, you really should, you might want to take a really hard look internally.
Well, right. I mean,
let alone start a business.
Look, take the airplane example that I've used before on the podcast, right? What do they tell you when they're talking about the oxygen masks? Put yours on first before you help anybody else. If you're not
100%.
taking care of yourself first, how can you, if you don't have your own disciplines and taking care of yourself, how can you take care of anybody else? I remember reading that in a book, like early 30s. That has stuck with me, especially now running a firm. Like, I have to take care of these people. Like, they are my responsibility. So if I'm not taking care of myself, and that's like why I snap back into place with just my physical fitness. Like, I was out of shape, and I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I'm not taking care of myself. How am I going to take care of these people?
We're going to comment on that exact concept on the other side of the break. Friends, the Entrepreneur Life, Matt Durzik, Rocco Cozza. I am Eric McKenna. We will return.
You're listening to 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. The Treasury Department is disputing claims that middle-class Americans are the target of new IRS funding.
GOP lawmakers have been at odds with Democrats over $80 billion in new Internal Revenue Service funding. Republicans warn that 87,000 new IRS agents will focus on middle-income Americans. But the U.S. Treasury is pushing back. An official said those making $400,000 and up, not the middle class, will be the target for audits. The new funding was included in the recently passed Inflation Reduction Act, which nonpartisan analysts have said may not reduce inflation. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Virginia's new Republican governor, Glenn Youngkin, has some advice for GOP candidates hoping to win their elections this fall.
I saw last year on the campaign trail that what most important topics were to everybody: education, cost of living, safety.
Meanwhile, former acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker says the FBI raid on former President Trump's home was riddled with the misuse of the law, but most disconcerting, he says, was the breadth of the warrant that was used.
The ability for the FBI to go into the former president's house, scoop up everything, and then, I guess, review it in hopes of finding something that supports their theory of a criminal case.
And Whitaker tells the Salem Radio Network that's something that was, in his words, something that should chill every American. A Michigan judge has blocked county prosecutors from enforcing the state's 1931 ban on abortion for the foreseeable future. That ruling came on Friday after 2 days of witness testimony from abortion experts and the state's chief medical officer. An attorney for 2 Republican county prosecutors is vowing to appeal the ruling. This is SRN News.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, beat the largest timeshare company in federal court and has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-859-6688. That's 800-859-6688.
All of us come from somewhere. All of us have origin stories.
From executive producer Larry Elder.
Divine Providence was clearly operating in the lives of Black Americans.
And director Justin Malone.
When I was growing up, we were never taught that America was bad. We were raised to love America.
Comes the continuation of their 2020 hit film, Uncle Tom. Uncle Tom Part 2, An American Odyssey. Pre-order today on Salem Now.
John Scott reports on what's being called the richest ever media rights deal.
The Big Ten announced its new 7-year media rights deal with Fox, NBC, and CBS. It's believed to be the richest ever struck with a college sports conference. The conference's soon-to-be 16-member universities eventually will share more than $1 billion in revenue per year. Starting in 2024, when USC and UCLA join the conference, Big Ten football Saturdays will be structured similar to the NFL. That means 3 marquee games being carried in consecutive time slots on 3 different major TV networks. John Scott reporting.
In a leaked video, Finland's Prime Minister Sanna Marin is seen dancing and singing with friends at a private party. The leak has triggered a debate among Finns about what level of reveling is inappropriate for a prime minister, especially considering neighboring Russia's attack on Ukraine. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. Tennessee Republican Senator Marsha Blackburn says job one for Republicans, if they regain control of Congress in the fall, should be to take control of the federal purse.
We need to freeze federal spending, freeze federal hiring, and freeze federal employment. Just get it all to the point that we can say stop.
Senator Blackburn was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network this week. Japanese officials are investigating after a chemical tanker ship crashed into a cargo vessel off the coast of southwestern Japan. The Japanese Coast Guard says nobody was injured either among the 6 crew members of the Japanese tanker nor of the Chinese cargo vessel that was struck. A brief oil spill was quickly contained. Both ships said to be anchored in the area now, about 2 miles off the coast of Kobe, Japan. You'll find more on these stories at townhall.com.
It's the diamond anniversary year of Beaver County Radio, and it's bigger and better than ever. We're now part of the St. Barnabas Radio Network and simulcasting on 4 radio stations and online at beavercountyradio.com.
All right, we're back. Man, getting in here deep today.
We're getting very deep.
Some of these breaks should be recorded.
Some of them.
Not all of them.
Right.
But some of them.
I said I'm going to bring in a camera and do that.
B-roll, right?
I forgot
the
to do
B-roll.
that, man.
Speaking of cameras, guess what we didn't bring today?
Yeah, I mean,
There's supposed to be another webcam for Mr. Matt Durzic over here, and that falls on me. It's probably still sitting on my dining room table. Got back from vacation, and I threw all my crap on the table and made a mental note to bring my headphones and Matt's webcam and call you to get here another extra 20 minutes early, and we didn't do any of that.
No, we didn't.
It's my fault.
Sorry,
I take ownership. No, it's not, because I want Matt on. It's ridiculous to have Matt on this show and not visually see him.
Right.
And I don't care if the station doesn't have it set up, or I'm going to do it, because that's how I think it needs to be done that way. So forgive me, Matt.
Yeah.
We certainly hear you. But at the same time, I think the visuals, to me, it's extremely important in rock.
Right now, he's like the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, and
Well, they see my face enough during the week.
Let me ask you this: when I was on this station prior, did we have a camera on you then too?
No.
Yes, I always thought it was weird. It was weird because you would be watching it, and then all of a sudden, like, where's this voice coming from?
I remember, was the camera angle high on your old show? Because I feel like
it was everywhere. We did. I did multiple cameras. Remember, we had I used to go home.
Yeah,
and edit
it. You did have them.
Yeah, I remember tuning in one time. That's when I first met you on your podcast, and I'm like, it was just like weird camera angles. It was there was like a sold by Eric sign in the background, right?
Yeah, and
all the signs.
Yeah, there was a lot of signs, right?
We would come in hang them.
Okay, I'm not crazy then.
It was as hokey and chaotic as you can imagine, but this is much more polished and professional.
Is it?
I'm probably like a little fish out of water.
No, it is. Trust me.
Thanks, Matt. Are you saying I add the polish?
I had. Well, yes, you did. You added the discipline. See? I'm actually getting here on time. Matt hasn't had to scramble to get me on the air on time. I haven't been showing up at the station at 10:29 and all that good stuff.
Someone came in our office yesterday, a client, to connect us with this guy who has this amazing nonprofit that I'm going to try and just help with stuff. But he came in and he was early, and he's like, I've never heard people say like I say. He's like, if I'm not 15 minutes early, I'm late. I'm like, I say that all the time. Like, that is my philosophy. And I'm like, I just love you just from saying that, because He's like, if I'm not 15 minutes early, I'm late. Yes.
My grandfather would say, if I'm going to be late, I'm not going.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean,
I go, can I do that with school? He goes, no, my boy, you cannot.
That's one of the reasons why I hired Matt in the office. I mean, there's many reasons why I hired him, but he beat me to the interview. Like, no one beats me to the interview.
That, man.
I was there an hour early. He was there before me.
I love that.
I'm like, man, okay. Like,
and I'm in an industry that has. Let me talk about the realtor industry for a second in regards to the concept of discipline.
Let's do it.
I am an average disciplined person. But I am always striving to be more disciplined.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably a slightly better than average when it comes to discipline. I will not pat myself on the back, but I see the competitive advantage. I always have. All right. I'm in an industry right now where we are extremely undisciplined when it comes to time management. And unfortunately, we often give a poor reflection of our industry on the public in that regard, because there's something called, in the public vernacular, realtor time.
Okay.
Realtor time is approximately 12 minutes behind Eastern Standard Time. And we use that realtor time thing as it's almost, we say it almost like it's a built-in excuse to our, I mean, I'm not kidding you. It's realtor time is a thing, and all I've ever tried to do since I started is I don't live like that, So, yeah, but time management. I mean, we don't want to get in. We don't want to do a personal development series today on discipline. I just want to touch on certain things that if it isn't part of your being, you just can't turn it on during your entrepreneurial portion of your day.
Yeah.
And turn it off when you become the regular, father, dad, husband, that it has to be part of your makeup.
It has to be. It has to be. And then it, rolls over into professional, like you said, realtor time. There's a lot of disciplines.
I'm on realtor time.
A lot of disciplines that lawyers don't have that are just built into my framework. Because, I spoke at an event earlier this week, and we were just talking about the business and kind of just giving, our background and kind of how we run the firm and different things we do. And one thing I said is, as we started growing, I started asking people, what do you not like about lawyers? They don't call me back. They take longer than they say they're going to do. They talk down to me. And it's like, these are all things we don't do. So like the disciplines like I have and then the firm has is 24 hours. If you don't hear back from me in 24 hours, assume something happened and follow up. Turning documents around 48 hours. There are certain things that just disciplines that I have that I've, instilled upon the firm, which just I think sets us apart. And I think as an entrepreneur, trying to understand your industry, right? So what are the things, outside of the disciplines you need to have individually, what are the disciplines your business needs to have to set you apart from your competition? Like that's something to look at as well, that you have to understand, because I had to do that. I said, if we're going to set ourselves apart as a law firm, I need to understand why people don't like lawyers and what don't they like about them, and then not do those things. Pretty simple.
Yeah, and I will tell you that separating yourself from your competition is certainly the goal for any small business owner, right? That's how you gain clients, right? When you're so new that you're still learning the business, and you're still learning your product, and you're still learning how your product integrates with society, you're not really in a position sometimes to differentiate why your product's better than someone else's. So, in the meantime, you can look at the fundamentals.
Yeah.
How the customer experience is.
Yeah.
Okay. And if the customer experience is lacking generally in these ways from your competition, just address that stuff while you're crafting your actual product.
Yeah.
You see, that there's always a way to maneuver.
Always.
But sometimes you just have to look outside. You got to move away from that myopic view of your business and look at how the lack of discipline, the lack of customer relationship and using customer relations internally to run your business, that's a discipline.
Yeah.
Right? So those business owners are faulty in their discipline on how they treat their customers.
Yes.
Fix that on your end from the beginning, and your product might be unremarkable maybe, or even sometimes lacking. But if you get the customer experience thing right out of the get-go, and put disciplines in place to give that all the time, it's only going to get better because you're going to get business to survive. Initially, that little differentiation will give you your business to survive as you hone and craft and improve on your product.
So
simple concept.
So I want to talk about this for a second about the customer, because this came up in this talk I gave earlier this week. One of the guys there, he owned large car dealerships, and he was asking about, like, how do we handle our complaint process with customers? And I told him, I said, look, in the 20 years I've been practicing law and in the few years we've had the firm, we've maybe had 3 or 4 clients that had an issue. And I said, and I talked to them. Like, I'm the business owner. They get on the phone with me, and I sort it out. And it's usually, not an issue. It's just they were questioning something, and, they were unhappy with something. We fix it. No problem. I own it. Then another guy that was speaking on the panel with me, he went into his process. Like, my guys just sometimes you just got to let the customer rant for 20 minutes.
Why?
Exactly. So I was kind of like, I wouldn't do that. So he was talking about how he just lets the customer rant and berate the employees, and then they tend to settle down and everything's good. And the guy that owns the car dealerships, and I said the same thing. I said, I'll fire the client. Like, there have been times where I will I'm not going to tolerate a client or a customer berating my employees.
100%.
I'm super protective of my people. And if they messed up, I'll own that. Like, that falls on me because I'm the leader. But if you berate one of my employees or talk down or bad, I don't need your business. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of entrepreneurs also, even in the beginning, you have to be willing to fire the client, have the discipline to be able to fire a client, because that'll make your life a lot easier in the end. And it'll also set a standard, a disciplinary standard within your organization of what you tolerate and what you don't tolerate.
Okay, so why do you think that whole concept of actually use whatever word you want. We'll use firing for the moment. Firing a client. Why do you think that is so hard for the public to grasp?
They don't want, they don't want to lose any business.
Yeah, scarcity. It's easy. That's an easy answer. Scarcity.
You think it's more than that?
I think it is. Because I think, we were talking in the last segment about, the discipline and trying not to please everybody. Well, that's part of it. You can't please everybody. You have to do it for yourself, and you have to realize that when something's out of line, you have to take a stand. You have to, say, this is out of line. I don't need your business anymore. And, that comes in all parts of life. And it's not easy. It's not easy because, again, as we talked about before, a lot of people growing up, they don't, learn how to, prioritize themselves and prioritize what is it they want to do or what they need to do.
Bingo. You nailed it. Yeah, and I'll take it even a further step in regards to starting a new business. If you go in there with having undisciplined convictions, like if you don't start that business and know what you stand for, and knowing that, again, nothing is 100% certain. You need to be aware that things evolve. But go in there with direction and know what you stand for, and know how you're going to be treated and how you're going to treat other people, and know what you will stand for and what you will not stand for. And having the courage to stand up for your business, right? Having the courage to stand up for that against anything else. And sometimes even that terrible mantra that everybody's heard for the last 100 years, that the customer is always right.
Nope.
See, again, you need to have the courage and conviction to stand up for your business. That is a big discipline going in.
Courage is the most important thing a leader needs to have. And that, when you said that word, like, that just that brings up so many things to me, because, again, leading an organization or being an entrepreneur is, one, a courageous act in and of itself, right? Because you're taking on responsibility for your customers, your business, your employees. So it takes courage just to take that shot, right? 2, you've got to have courage in operating your business. Like you said, know what you stand for. Know what you tolerate and what you don't tolerate. And be courageous enough to stand your ground. But again, too many people, because we live in a state of perpetual fear. Like, a lot of people in this world, because of just the way the world works, media and information, like, people are constantly fearful of the negative, of what could possibly happen. Instead, have a positive outlook on life. Like, I'm probably one of the most optimistic people there is. I always have a positive outlook because I also believe in my ability to solve problems. So I think if you build the disciplines and the habits to solve problems, it's easier to have an optimistic
Yeah, well, you'll
viewpoint.
gain emotional muscle.
Correct.
And it's easier to be positive when you have these reaffirmations that things worked out. Look what I did here. And
Yes.
look what it yielded me.
Yes.
It's just a gradual swell.
Yes.
Right.
But to build that courage, you have to be willing to take those chances to try and solve the
You
problems.
got to take the first chance. You
Exactly.
got to start.
Exactly.
It could be the biggest discipline in getting up an hour earlier.
Yeah.
Getting up at, I know a guy that started discipline of getting up at 5:55 a.m. every day. He didn't have to be at work till 9, but he wanted to try to get some things done and get some things ordered.
Mm-hmm.
So 5:55 was the thing. That's what he started with, his alarm clock, right? But again, it really comes back to, is your life somewhat disciplined? Look in the mirror, or be honest with you. Be honest with the person you need to be honest with, yourself, and understand that if you're going to start a new venture of any kind, I mean, even if you're, let's say you're going to be the president of the Elks Club, or you're going to be the president of your golf league, or whatever it is, it's a new venture, right?
Yeah.
Not all new ventures are monetary, right?
Correct.
So you're starting a new venture, you're going into a new position, new arrangement, new relationship, and you're starting things. You don't want to be careening from wall to wall and not have some things in place, and especially if you're going on the monetary end and you're starting an actual business. The last thing you want to do,
absolutely,
in my opinion, is to go in there with bad personal discipline, because it's going to extend on the business front. Friends, Your Entrepreneur Life, Rocco Cozza, Matt Durzik, Eric McKenna. I've done enough talking. These two guys are going to pick up the slack when we come back.
The sales of summer are happening all throughout Beaver Falls this coming Saturday, August 20th. Enjoy special happenings at many merchants throughout town. There will also be entertainment. The Main Street and College Hill neighborhoods will be filled with street vendors, sidewalk sales, food trucks, antique cars, and Solid Gold Saturday afternoon on Beaver County Radio. Come see what Beaver Falls is all about. It's the Sales of Summer presented by the Beaver Falls Business District Authority and sponsored by the Antique Emporium, Vintage Torque, This and That Downtown, Hofstetter Auctioneers, and Beaver County Radio.
Hey, it's the Beaver Valley Community Concert Association proudly announcing its exciting 2022-23 season. Show number 1, Atlantic City Boys, Tuesday, September 20th at 7:30 p.m. Show number 2, Nick and Desi, Broadway Song, Dance, and Romance, Saturday, October the 8th at 7:30 p.m. Show number 3, Sail On, the Beach Boys Tribute, Thursday, November 17th at 7:30 p.m. Concerts held at the Beaver Falls Middle School Auditorium. For more information, contact Peggy McCullough, 724-846-3203. Please visit our website, www.bbcommunityconcert.org. Adult tickets, $60. Student tickets, $10. Or purchase a ticket at the door, $25 for adults. Student tickets, $5. That's the Beaver Valley Community Concert Association.
The ballpark is coming into your living room or the dashboard of your car. That's because Pirates Baseball is on Beaver County Radio. Set the dial to WBVP WMBA 99.3 FM or 95.7 FM, and then turn the volume up to hear the most beautiful sound in the world. Pirates Baseball is sure to be a hit this year, and it's presented locally by the Beaver Falls Municipal Authority, Express Employment Professionals, Dr. C. Timothy Lipp, Falcones Boot Township Board, Keystone Wellness Program, and St. Barnabas, among others, right here on Beaver County Radio.
In 1948, there were two major historical events. Alban S. Barkley was appointed Vice President of the United States, and WBVP began broadcasting. These days, nobody remembers much about Truman's vice president, but Beaver County Radio is going strong and now entering our 75th year.
That was a good break.
That was a good break, yeah.
The fast break.
Well, you have to pay attention to are you paying?
I was going to
get
use
him
the
a
restroom,
clock.
but I have a phone right here and I have a watch on, man. I'm a watch guy, you know that.
I'm just saying.
That's it. I got to say, that is definitely something our generation is not picking up from you guys, the whole watch thing. I think there's some of them do like the smart watches, but as far as like the old school, like...
It's just jewelry, man.
But I look at them as they're timepieces.
Yes, I do too. They're jewelry, though.
Sure, but I use it to tell time. I look at my watch more than my phone.
I do the same.
But I also look at them as if you buy the right watch, they're investments. They increase in value.
They can be.
And I have a son who will get them one day when I'm in the grave.
Absolutely can be, for sure.
Yes.
But I think, if you want a device that's going to tell you accurate time, you get a Quartz Timex from 1995. It'll tell you the best time for the next 200 years. Yeah. Probably on the same battery.
Do you remember Swatch watches?
Yeah, swatches, man. They just had a little. They just did a little. I'll tell you how far I'm on horology.
Okay.
Right? I'll tell you how far up I'm on that. They Omega, the timepiece maker.
But you should probably explain what horology is, so people that like.
It's the art of watchmaking.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
It had a weird name.
It does have a very weird name.
I was like, I feel like we need to explain.
I don't even know if I'm pronouncing horology correctly. I don't even know.
I was going to say, is that an HBO special that they show at midnight? Like, what are they doing?
I wanted to just clarify.
That's a mid-90s. Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Anyways,
Go on.
but Omega, it's a big watch manufacturer. Yes. It's owned by the Swatch Group, believe it or not. It sounds kind of crazy, but they're now doing a commemorative watch with Swatch for like $200.
Okay.
It's an homage of like the moon landing and things.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Whatever. We're way, way, way off.
Yeah, we definitely are.
But you brought up watches.
Watches keep us disciplined another time.
They do. Yeah.
I bring it back. Yeah,
I wouldn't have brought it up if you guys didn't look at them, so there you go.
Loosely, yeah.
But
they're jewelry, in my opinion. The men's jewelry.
Okay.
I know people don't like to say that, but that's kind of essentially what they are.
Sure.
Anyways, have to have a discipline to understand that.
Bring us back, man.
I'm trying.
Bring it back. Bring the car back on the road, man, 'cause we're on the shoulder.
We're over the edge of the cliff. I'm going to keep talking to buy more time. So, anyways, didn't I just tell you guys that you were going to take it when we come back from the break because I had done enough talking?
Yes, you did.
And now it's back in my lap again.
But then you just started talking, and we just let you go.
Well, again, I think no, go ahead. Right?
No, go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say, I think we've been talking about how a lot of this has to be internalized, and something I brought over the break is that you compare how long it takes someone to get up for like school in the morning, like when they're a kid. And, and a lot of that depends on how much they want to, actually sort of take control. Like some kids will eat school at home. Some kids will eat school. I'll start that again. Holy crap.
I'm assuming you meant eat breakfast.
Yes, that's exactly what I meant. I don't know.
Or you have my daughter that eats breakfast at home and at school.
Wake up. Some eat breakfast at school. Some eat breakfast at home. And I think a lot of that does apply to, the disciplines that one would have, because if you want to eat breakfast at home, you have to get up a little earlier to do that. But sometimes you're just like, oh, no, I'll let them take care of me. But you don't know exactly how they're going to do that and may not be the better option. And I think we're sort of, there's a difference between taking the better option and taking the easier option.
That's anything in life.
100%. I mean,
and that deals with discipline, right? I mean, that is the $1 million question when it comes to discipline. Do I do the easy option or the right option?
True.
Okay, but
to go back to Matt's point, we can't take the parenting aspect of this out of the picture because, discipline is something that can be instilled in youth.
Well, I mean, yes, for kids, to be
right?
Yeah.
For kids to be disciplined, it starts with the parents. I'm just going to say it.
And so sometimes it's observational too.
Of course. I mean, I think the majority of it is I think, and again, we're back on parenting. We somehow always get here, but that's okay. It's important. It's important. We're shaping the minds of the future. but no, I think I mean being a parent now, right? So I mean, you have older kids. I have a 20-year-old son.
Be nice to me now.
13 and 9. So they've went through different periods of life. I know kids learn more by observation than lecturing. Like I know that my kids will do what I do more than do what I say. So I have to be the example. I have to set the tone. I have to show them how to operate in the world by how I operate in the world. They will follow, you hope, for the most part, will follow my example. I can tell them till I'm blue in the face something. That doesn't mean they're going to get it, but I can show them, and then they see it, and it's different. It's a different level of learning. It's a different level of observation. I mean, I think about when I grew up, right? People could tell me stuff all the time. I'm like, okay. But when I watched it work and I watched people do things, that's how I learned.
Oh, 100%.
You know, you can tell me how to swing a bat, or you can show me how to swing a bat.
Yeah, and I can even go deeper and say that I can remember being, I don't know, maybe junior high, getting my first job at a pizza shop, of all places, right? And, you know,
Nice.
a lazy junior high kid didn't really want to go to work sometimes. You know, I'd come home from school, was tired because I was probably up too late the night before. But the reason I never complained and the reason I always went, for me, in my little sphere, was that I had a father who, whether he was an entrepreneur at that time, I don't think he had done entrepreneurship yet, but he was a workaholic. You know, he was. But I saw him beat himself up and work like crazy. And I had that little thing of guilt, which was healthy. Like, you know, how can I not go make pizzas? How could I possibly blow this off when my father is like killing himself?
Yeah.
You know, those are, I mean, that's an extreme example, but really it's not. I mean, that showed me that I can't make excuses. Like, shame on me if I make excuses, right?
Yeah.
That was a good observational discipline that I obtained.
Yeah, I mean, kids observe. Like, I'll use the example of Gabe, right? You know, I think it was his freshman year of college. He wrote a speech. He had to write about his hero, and he wrote about me. And and I have it framed on my wall in my office. But you don't realize what they observe. And he just, part of what he said was like, he watched me, you know, leave my job in corporate America and build this firm from scratch.
Yep.
And he's like, and that's what I want to do. He's like, he's instilled in me work ethic, because he just, like, I would tell him you got to work hard, but he just watched me do it. And it stuck with him to the point where he wrote a speech about it.
Yep.
And that, like, I get emotional just even thinking about it. And it's, and to me, and that's why, like, it's kids are always watching. Your employee, bringing it back to entrepreneurship, your employees are watching. I can't expect my employees to do something I'm not willing to do. If I expect my employees to work 10 hours a day to get something done, I better be willing to work 12 hours a day.
100%.
But too many entrepreneurs, when they get to a certain level, or too many bosses, they tell their employees to do things they're not willing to do. If I'm not willing to scrub the toilets, I should not be making my employees scrub the toilets. Like, that's my belief.
100%.
Yes.
Do as I say, not as I do, right?
No.
That's a mantra that's been used in American business probably the past 200 years. It's a terrible mantra. I mean, it's,
BS.
You know, it's and that creeps into all sectors. You know, we have a section of politics in this country from all parties that are like, they're elitists. They'll tell you what you need and tell you that you can't accomplish things and tell you need us to take care of you. I mean, it's a very like, they're sitting living a lavish life.
Yeah.
But they somehow know what you need, right?
Well, I know you're not a fan of his, but I'll bring him up anyway. I mean, there's a reason that very line, do as I say, not as I do, was meant in a parodical context by Genesis during the song Jesus, He Knows Me, you know, because that was all about the televangelists of the 80s.
Right. Yeah,
And you
100%.
guys know music history, man. You guys are like two music brains.
Well,
I feel out of my league in
but
this
there's
room.
lessons. There's
I
lessons.
know.
Music's a great.
That's impressive.
Music's a great reflection of society.
Yeah.
And Matt's 100% right. And we just, again, there's a lot of different things. There's arrogance going on there, all these other things too. But again, I love what Rocco mentioned earlier, and that is simply that you have an open, blank notebook to design your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
And whether in the business is only a couple pages of that. The rest of it's your life.
Yes.
Get the personal disciplines together. And listen, if you're starting this and you're in your 40s, it's not too late. In your 50s, it's not too late. Whenever. You know, and I can probably list disciplines I'm lacking right now that I have to continually work on or kind of pester myself to actually do.
Yeah.
But, you know, the idea is be aware and just find a way to do it and understand how it builds with everything else. Because I don't want to go do something that I see has no value just because someone else tells me it's a discipline I should do.
Right.
If I don't understand the value of it, and maybe there is value, I'm just not seeing it, but if I don't understand the value of it, regardless whether the value is hidden or not, I'm not going to do it.
Right. And I think it's up to those who are telling you to do it to explain the value of it to you if you're not sure what it is. You know, for example, something like mowing the lawn. Is there any real value to it outside? You know, 'cause
Zero for me.
For a lot of people, it's just, you know, in myself included, it's just, okay, this is stemmed from feudalistic era mentality. Why are we doing this? This is pointless. But if someone were to come up to you and say, hey, wait a minute, if you don't do this, you're going to have more bugs in your backyard, you're going to have more pollination, and it may cause more, then okay, now you're talking to me. But if they don't make that leap, that concept outside of, no, it needs done, why?
But see, so on the remedial, that's a concept that we grow up with. Like, children, back on the parenting thing again, but children, it's one thing to tell them, we don't want to make them our friends because we're their parents.
Sure.
Yes. But there is a good component of understanding things thoroughly as a child, not just being told to do things without somewhat understanding the benefit of it. Now, it doesn't mean the child should have a choice. The parent says, do it. But I think it's helpful for all involved if it's a learning experience as well as a task.
Yeah, you can't tell the kid, don't touch the stove because it's hot. Say, don't touch the stove because that's a flame. Flame is fire. Fire will burn you, and you'll go to the hospital.
So eventually they can figure that out on their
own.
So
they understand what that means.
100%.
But so let me ask you a question. I think let's get to something tangible. So if you had to say, because you said we need to understand why we're doing something in your life, 2 or 3 disciplines you have and why you believe they're important for people to do. We put you on the spot.
Yeah,
so if you have 2 or 3 disciplines in your life that you've implemented that you think are extremely important and why you feel they're important, the benefit you get from them.
Again, I'm not coming from an elitist thing.
No.
I'm not
just,
saying that
I'm
not even saying that the people should do this. Yeah. I think they're beneficial for anyone.
It's your perspective.
One of them is going to be reading.
Okay. Yes.
Absolutely reading.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about magazines or online websites. I mean, that's a function of reading, and I think it's good. That's good mental exercise to a degree. But reading books, reading multiple chapter essays, books, periodicals, something that enhances your mind, that has a level of sophistication that makes you contemplate, makes you think, in addition to make you feel. Okay. We don't want to read things that just makes us feel things all the time, right? I want to contemplate. I want to require my mind to take what I have ingested and find out how it does not resonate with me. That's reading to me. Okay. Health, right? And it's only been the last couple of years for me. I mean, really taking it seriously, realigning my diet, understanding I need to keep my body in motion at this older age to keep my vitality, right? I think it's an incredibly important thing.
Okay.
And the other thing that quite frankly, that I think has enhanced my life is to do a concerted effort to maintain, I don't know how to package this, but hear me out, a concerted effort to have continual and open conversation with my children as they have matured. So I don't lose focus, or I don't become, or I, as their parent, do not become marginalized in their life from their standpoint. I don't know how you package that and label that, but that's an extremely important habit or discipline that I have done that's important to me.
Yes, I love it.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it makes complete sense. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think, too, going to your point, that last one particularly, is that, you talk about sort of the connection that, comes with, being a parent to children even at an older age. And I think that's something that a lot of, there seems to be this thing in society. It's all about society. There's this thing in society where, for some reason, we tend to think that as soon as children or students hit a certain age, that, they're on their own. You always hear that when you're in high school. As soon as you leave here, you'll be on your own. You'll be in the world. First of all, that is not true. It's not true.
Do you still hear that? I mean,
it's kind of the vibe you get, isn't it?
Really?
I
think we need more of that. I'm not saying we should be cut. I don't think.
I agree with you. I think we should, but I don't think. I think they say that, but I don't think there's proper training.
Okay. 100%.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Because 100%. I think there's this mentality that's built up during a high school student's years where they're thinking, okay, as soon as I'm done, or even through college, as soon as I graduate, I'm my own independent person, I'm my own independent being, and not only have they not been trained to do that, they have not been, they're going into a world where they're probably not going to be able to do that, because their only way they're going to be able to make any money is to become an employee.
In 2020, 2022, in my opinion, when you turn 18 years old, you do not have the skill set. I'm going to say it. I don't believe, Eric McKenna does not believe, you have the skill set to effectively move out into the world. You just don't. I would like to think that prior generations in that current society had a better chance of becoming 18 and literally getting booted out of the house and finding their way. I don't believe 18 years old today is mature enough. I don't think they're educated enough, and I don't mean scholastically. They're just not ready. And I think the blame, a lot of it falls on us, the parents.
I think it's technology. I think it's a lot. I mean, an 18-year-old in the 1960s had a lot less distractions and a lot less to worry about. So, yeah, it was a lot easier. Now it's like an 18-year-old is distracted every 10 seconds by something, by Snapchat, TikTok, WhatsApp, Facebook. So they don't have the mental capacity or the mental framework to move out. I think that's a whole different topic. I think that's that is something that just we should not even be talking about that. Like I don't know that they're mature at 22 when they graduate college yet. I think there's maybe some maturity to it, but I think there's still a level of guidance they need.
Okay, so we'll use me as an example of this exact conversation because I left. I moved out when I was 17. I graduated early, and wonderful parents, but I just didn't want to be there. Leave it at that. So I moved out when I was 17. Stubbornly worked, kind of tested college, dropped out, and a couple odd jobs until I landed something. But I figured it out, right? And I'm kind of proud of that. Sure. I figured it out under some difficult circumstances. Stubborn, difficult. But could I, as I was wired, do that today in today's society? I'm going to think not. No. I'm going to think that I would have struggled badly.
Oh yeah. Well, I would go further and say you wouldn't even have tried it.
Maybe not.
No, because I mean, back in and I've seen many a meme about this, and as funny as they are absolutely true and heartbreaking. That back whenever you lived in the 70s or 80s, if you wanted to get an apartment out of college, you could work a summer job and get it. It wasn't that big of a deal.
Yep.
No way in any possible circumstance is that going to be happening for an 18-year-old kid today. None. They couldn't afford an apartment. To afford an apartment at 18, you probably have to start working at a fast food restaurant at the age of 5.
I think it's actually feasible if they work 2 jobs, but the apartment's not going to be something that might not be real safe.
Yeah, they don't need an Instagram-worthy apartment. That's the thing too. Like a lot of these young kids.
I think anything's possible.
Yes.
Case in point, if you really had to move out at 18 years old, I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying I know how I was wired as a rather frail kid trying to figure things out. But but the society yielded more opportunity. My first apartment was $250 a month, all utilities included.
Yeah,
1 bedroom. That was 1983. So I'm just
building time machine.
Yeah, I'm just saying. But I was making $2.75 an hour too. So everything's kind of relative.
Don't spend it all in one place, man.
But
how did we get here? By the way,
great movies. Great. Well, disciplines. Because what I'm saying is, when a child's 18 years old, they're just not equipped.
They're not disciplined.
They're not disciplined. In any way.
Actually, I'll twist it a little bit. I think they are disciplined. I just think they're disciplined incorrectly. They are disciplined to be a part of society rather than become their own person.
Man, is that good? Let me think about that.
I agree, but I don't.
Okay.
So I just don't. Cause I don't think at 18 they know what society is yet.
But did I?
But I know what you're saying. I think they're wired to be part of the society they've created in their head, or their society of their close friends. I don't think they understand how the world actually works.
No,
they think they do, but they don't. Like the whole everybody gets a trophy, you're all special. That's not how the world works. But a lot of kids that are 18, 19 years old, come out into the world and think, well, why am I not special anymore? I was always told I was special. And that's not how it works.
There's some of that for sure.
And I think, and to defend social media for a hot second here, I think, if it goes down that road, I think there might be a possibility, because it's certainly feasible, where I think that's that mentality of, because I think there's this mentality of once you graduate from high school or college is this feeling of you did it, you accomplished something. And you did. But did you accomplish something in the grand scheme of an entire life? Not really.
Great point.
No.
Great point. So you accomplished getting through high school. Now, is that actually an accomplishment? Let me walk us back. Everybody's circumstance is different. But generally speaking, you kind of have to. Your parents are in a lot of trouble if you don't go to public school or school your kids in general. You can get a GED. There are I get it. But generally, it's not that big of an accomplishment to get a high school degree when you're 17, 18 years old. It's just not.
Especially not today.
So, right. So my point, the next thing is you go to college or secondary. That's considered secondary education, right? You go there, and all you're really doing there with most degrees, aside from the technical ones, is basically proving to a potential employer that you can accomplish something. What's it called? Delayed gratification over a period of time or whatever the fancy terminology is, right? But I would make the argument that, there is some discipline in completing a college degree. There is. I mean, that you're a little older, there's more choices. You actually have a choice not to do it, and you decide to do it, where you didn't have that in high school generally. You probably didn't have that living at home.
Yeah.
So there's a next level of complexity there. What I'm saying is, at 18 years old, we're expecting oftentimes these kids to go out into the world and make sometimes sophisticated decisions, and we've not given them either the latitude, the training, or even the encouragement to do so. And I think that lack of training in the discipline front rears its ugly head even a decade or two later sometimes, and sometimes moves into entrepreneurship because they're entering entrepreneurship without the appropriate toolbox.
Yeah, and they shouldn't be if that's the case. I mean, and that's the problem.
But they're going to.
Sure. I mean, I understand that, but I think there's got to be some level of self-awareness when it comes to entrepreneurship. And I think to pull back a little bit from the college discussion, I think as you develop through life, you learn different types of discipline over the years, right? And I don't think any individual 18 to 22-year-old is equipped to navigate the world, to navigate the real world from a discipline perspective. I don't think they're equipped yet. I think there are certain things your mind can't learn yet. You haven't had enough life experience to learn certain disciplines that are required to navigate sophisticatedly through your 20s and 30s.
Relationships might be the biggest one.
Relationships, the way to just navigate communication, like you said, reading, like certain things you need to do to elevate yourself within the hierarchy of the world. I think there's just things like that, and I think we're setting these expectations on people that they should be able to do that, and we have to understand. Like I always have to bring myself back when I'm dealing with younger people. I have to try and pull myself back and say, wait a minute, they don't see the world the way I do because they don't have they haven't had the same experience yet. So I can't expect them to have the same disciplines yet. I can't expect them to do the things that I do yet because they haven't had the journey I've had. They haven't faced the things I've faced that have helped me craft those disciplines and habits and build those muscles and, build the emotional intelligence and the intellect to navigate these certain things. So we always have to look at it from that perspective. I think too many people don't look at it from the other person's perspective. They're saying, well, you should be doing this. Well, no, maybe they shouldn't because I can't expect my son, who's going to be 21 in a couple weeks, to see the world like I do. Because he's my blood and he's my son, but he hasn't had the life experience. He hasn't had the same viewpoints I have or the perspectives that I've had.
And I think that's perfectly understandable for that to be the case. I just think there's a level of disingenuousness and dishonesty when it comes to, the mental preparation for what's to come. Like, here's how things are going to be and how things actually are, because there's such a narrow tunnel from education point A to education point B to the quote-unquote real world. I forget which one of you said something, but I know it triggered a quote I once read from there was an old basketball coach by the name of Al McGuire. And he said, and I quote, and I pulled it up, I think everyone should go to college and get a degree and then spend 6 months as a bartender and 6 months as a cab driver. Then they would really be educated. And it's a little funny, but there's an element to that where, how are you going to understand the world if you don't experience it? And I think going to your point, Eric, about, once you got out and you sort of had that year of, being in an apartment and sort of, going through certain valleys and whatever to
eating canned beans.
Right. Or, Vienna sausages.
Yeah, they were there.
They still are. But
somewhere.
But the fact is, you have to have those experiences. We talked about this, I think, earlier on, where if you don't have those sort of experiences of humility, and I think that's a big part of it too.
Oh, without a doubt.
We're not told, where you sort of equate humility with failure, and I know we've talked about that before on the show.
More than ever now, do you think?
Humility
in society? Do you think society equates humility with failure more than ever now?
I don't. No, I don't. Honestly, okay. I don't. I think people have a weird view of failure these days. I don't think, at least from my perspective, I don't think people equate humility with failure. I think people equate humility
with weakness.
With weakness.
Yeah.
Correct. Not failure.
I used the wrong word.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think now more than ever.
I agree. And I think it's unfortunate because I truly believe if you are vulnerable as a person, you are a very powerful person.
Yes.
I mean, extremely powerful. People don't understand the power
you have to manage
of
it.
You have to manage it. You don't understand the power of vulnerabilities. And it's, and again, that's another discipline to have is understanding yourself, being disciplined enough to understand yourself, to understand your vulnerabilities, to address your vulnerabilities, to address your weaknesses, to address these things that are kind of that dark side of you. You have to be able to address those. And that's a next level discipline. But I think as you progress on the journey through life and entrepreneurship, these are different gates you're going to have to go through.
It's good stuff today. Discipline. Matt Dursick, Rocco Cozza, Eric McKenna, The Entrepreneur Life on Beaver County Radio. We will return.
Did you know that facial expression, body language, and voice inflection account for almost 70% of how the spoken word is interpreted? How you appear, how clearly you can speak, and how confident you are when you smile, eat, and talk can impact almost every aspect of your life. Regular dental care from St. Barnabas Dental in Beaver affects much more than just your teeth. Even sleeping patterns can be improved with oral care from St. Barnabas Dental. Dr. Henry Windle and Dr. Jason Stracola offer life-changing solutions by restoring dental health, function, and appearance. Proper expression and greater overall life enjoyment start with the team at St. Barnabas Dental. Call St. Barnabas Dental, located on Tuscaroras Road in Brighton Township, at 724-495-3350. It's dental care that's apart from the ordinary. Click stbarnabashealthsystem.com.
While serving in Afghanistan, I was hit by sniper fire. The fighting was so intense, the medevac chopper was barely able to land. In the hospital, I was given a 5% chance to live. It's a good thing math wasn't my best subject. Today, I visit classrooms and share my story. I talk to kids about dealing with life's struggles. I tell them, with a little help and a lot of work, that you can overcome any challenge.
DAV helps veterans like Adam get the benefits they've earned. They help more than 1 million veterans every year in life-changing ways.
I know that some struggles are big and some are small, but they're all struggles, and you have to learn to get through them. With support from DAV, more veterans like me can live their best life. And as a new father, I have one more reason to keep on keeping on. My victory is being there for the next generation.
Adam Alexander, may your victories inspire many more. Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
This is Chuck Wilson speaking to you. This broadcast is sent your way as a public service of the Jones and Lockland Field.
In our first 75 years, Beaver County Radio has had over 400 employees, 10 owners, 9 of the coolest station vehicles ever, and 1 radio station cat. Who knows what the next 75 years will bring? It's the Diamond Anniversary year of 99.3 FM, 95.7 FM, WBVP, and WMBA.
And we're back. I know we have a short little time frame here before the news. Or what? About 8 minutes?
Yeah.
7 minutes?
Yeah.
6 minutes?
7.5.
There you go. But you were saying something, Matt?
No, I was going to say, going back to the point that Rocco made right before the break, and it was a good clarification that, humility isn't seen as failure; it's seen as weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Where I would say that's true, and then weakness is then seen as failure
in today's world.
Because I think people are willing to make that slippery slope to go from one point to another, and I think a lot of that goes to it's a weird phenomenon where a lot of people. And we were sort of talking about this earlier when we talk about bosses and entrepreneurs that sort of don't do the things that they want others to do. I think there's so much of an element of power without any substance that goes on, that there's this element of, I'm willing to say that I am better than you, and I am willing to have this title of being better than you, but they don't really have any proof of being better than them. And it goes right to the point that was made earlier about, observing people rather than, observing people more so than listening to them. You will listen to them to sort of understand the context, but if they don't walk the walk of the talk that they've talked,
because
they're exposed.
It's really not about the other person; it's about them,
right? And
that's a fatal flaw in any management, in my opinion. When you're making it all about yourself first and your people.
Well, I wouldn't quite go that far. I think you can make it about yourself to an extent. I mean,
I'm confused a little bit.
You're never confused.
But I am right now.
I'm saying I don't think it's a matter of making it about yourself being the problem. It's making it about yourself when there's nothing there.
So you're saying that the manager is there with shaky credentials.
Right, exactly. And not just shaky credentials, but not shaky following substance. Up on their
shaky disciplines.
Right.
Shaky behavior. Right?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm not sure if that cleared it up for Rocco. Or
I have never seen him perplexed in years. I've never seen it. You stumped him.
No, I mean, okay, I get perplexed every once in a while, man. I'm not Superman. But no, I'm just trying to understand. Like, okay, so I get you're saying that is a weakness. So an individual that is in an organization, we'll say, is a leader or a manager,
yes,
that doesn't have the qualifications to be there.
Correct.
So what are we saying about this person?
That they will operate with a level of the only discipline they have is the aesthetic discipline.
Right.
They'll have a facade of discipline, saying
they're
I'm
a
the
leader
one
because of the position, not because of the qualifications.
Exactly.
There's an implication that there's all these disciplines there, but in reality, they're
right. Or in a more realistic sense, they're being a leader now off of what was done then, not so much on what they're doing now.
Here's my thing: leadership is not position. Leadership is the person, and I think to your point, I think I know what you're saying, and I think people are given titles and put in positions where they don't have the qualifications, the disciplines to be there, and they're acting in a way that is not congruent with the way the organization is
American
operating.
Business,
right? But I think leaders are people that serve others. Like that's what I believe. So a leader can be the low person on the totem pole in an organization. I never look at a person's position and say that person's a leader. I can walk in a room of people and know who the leader is. And that may not be the person with the title.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think what animal it is. I want to say it's wolves, but it might be like sled dogs. I'm not sure which one it is. But I know there's like some animal out there.
Wildebeest.
I don't think it's wildebeest, but I appreciate your enthusiasm. But I think it is wolves. I think whatever it is, there's this picture, and I've seen it on social media before, which again, sometimes it helps, but where they showcase how in a pack, that the leader won't be the one out in front. They'll be the one out and back,
wolves.
making sure that they're, the ones who are struggling the most are not lost. They don't get left behind. Mm-hmm. So that's why the leader will be in the back of the pack to make sure that they oversee everything as much as, instead of, the leader would know who can lead and who they need to protect.
Yeah, what I would say, a leader doesn't need to say they're the leader. You just know.
Exactly.
When the person walks, you just know. Like when you walk in,
presence.
Exactly. A leader has a presence, has a confidence, has the ability, an aura, the ability to corral the room. Like I can walk into a room of people that I've just met in an organization, and I know exactly who the leader is within 30 seconds. Just by watching the room. And if you can't point that out, there's not a leader in that room. Or if someone's telling you they're the leader, they're probably not the leader. Because I truly believe in the way human dynamics work, in human relationships. People gravitate to others that are leaders without having to tell them anything. I mean, think about situations you've been in around people. Like, you know who a leader is. You know that that's a person that you would follow.
Yeah, I gotta. It's a little off because it's not really about a leader thing, but there is something to the presence or the aura. And I'm not getting metaphysical here.
Sure.
But there is something about people possessing a presence. I have been in the room with industry types and a quote-unquote celebrity will walk in. And sometimes they will not stand out, even if the appearance is a little odd. There are other times where there is when they walk in the room, there is a presence.
Yeah.
There. I can tell you, and it was obviously the guy I worked with the most, Paul Stanley. He would walk into a room in street clothes and cropped short hair. When he walked in the room and just went over to a table to grab the catering table, he's like, when he walked into the room, it all kind of stopped.
Yeah.
And he wasn't talking to anybody. I mean, there's just some people have that. Now, we as humans build up this aura because we, celebrity and all that stuff. But there is something to having a presence. I've been in rooms. I think of a man I've known growing up, Jim Hitt. He was a heck of a manager. Tough.
Yeah.
But he was a larger-than-life character. And when Jim walked into a room full of salespeople, you knew it.
Yeah.
He didn't have to say a word. He just knew he was there. There was a determination, a look at the way he asserted himself. There's a presence there. It's weighty, and it's hard to actually say.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for Town Hall News. We will return.
You're listening to 95.7 FM, 99.3 FM, presented by St. Barnabas, in addition to 1230 WBVP Beaver Falls and 1460 WMBA Ambridge.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin says Republican candidates everywhere would be well advised to learn from his experience listening to voters in his state.
I travel around this Commonwealth extensively. I'm listening to Virginians, and what I'm hearing over and over again is I cannot afford to do the things that I need to be able to do.
Youngkin is seen as an example to other candidates after he recaptured the Virginia governor's seat for Republicans last year as part of a massive red sweep in Virginia. Meantime, the Senate's Republican point man for elections believes his party can recapture the Senate majority in the fall midterms, even though several key candidates are trailing their opponents right now. Senator Rick Scott credits his candidates and also says that voters are not happy with President Biden nor his party's agenda.
People don't like high inflation. They don't like to defund the police. They don't like critical race theory. They don't like the fact that there was a raid on a former president's house, a potential opponent in 24 to the existing administration.
Senator Rick Scott of Florida was interviewed this week by the Salem Radio Network. Israel's former ambassador to the U.S., Dr. Michael Oren, is predicting a regional war will break out if President Biden succeeds in reviving the Iran nuclear deal.
Iran's going to move to make a nuclear weapon. We're going to try to stop them. When we try to stop them, they're going to unleash tens and tens of thousands of rockets against us from Lebanon, from Yemen, from Iraq, from Gaza.
Oren told the Salem Radio Network Israeli tanks would be forced to enter southern Lebanon to seek out and destroy those missile-launching sites. The U.S. is stepping up to buy some 150,000 metric tons of grain from Ukraine in the next few weeks, part of an upcoming shipment of food aid from ports no longer blockaded by war. The World Food Program says the final destination for the grain is still not settled. More from townhall.com.
I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, and I'm still mad at timeshare companies. For over a decade, I've been fighting to clean up the timeshare industry by getting folks out of bad timeshares. But after all those battles, I'm still asked, how do they sell timeshares for $25,000 when they're available online for only $1? Here's how they do it. They lie. They tell you things like timeshare is a great investment. You can go anywhere, anytime, or your maintenance fees will never go up. Everything they do to get you to sign a timeshare agreement is part of a well-planned trap. If you've ever been held hostage at a timeshare presentation and bought, Wesley Financial Group is here to help. To date, we've canceled timeshares for over 30,000 families. And I guarantee you this, we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call now for your free timeshare cancellation guide. 800-478-7733. That's 800-478-7733. 800-478-7733.
At least 10 people were killed in an attack by Islamic militants who stormed a hotel in Somalia's capital city late Friday. The BBC's Abdul Ahmed Mumin has more from Mogadishu.
One account from the security officials here is that they are now trying to enter into the hotel and rescue more people as they can. But the challenge here is that they are saying there might be explosive items laid on the hotel, on the ground floor. And
a British terrorist who played a role in the beheadings of American hostages sentenced in Alexandria, Virginia, to life in prison. The man El Shafi El Sheikh was among a group of British terrorists whimsically nicknamed the Beatles due to their distinctive accent that could be heard in the internet videos that they posted. Breaking news and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Bob Agnew. A federal judge says GOP Senator Lindsey Graham cannot put off his appearance before a special grand jury investigating the 2020 election in Georgia. Here's White House correspondent Greg Cluxton.
The grand jury is investigating whether then-President Trump and others illegally tried to influence the election results in Georgia. Senator Graham, a close Trump ally, was subpoenaed to testify about 2 phone calls he is said to have made to Georgia's Secretary of State and staffers. But the senator's attorneys appealed. They asked a judge to stay her ruling to honor the subpoena while the appeal plays out. She declined that request. Graham is currently scheduled to appear before the special grand jury on Tuesday. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Officials are investigating after a Japanese chemical tanker ship crashed into a cargo vessel off the southwestern coast of Japan. The Japanese Coast Guard says no one was injured. A brief oil spill was quickly contained. You'll find more on these stories at townhall.com.
Diamonds might be a girl's best friend, but the station that's been your ear's best friend since 1948 is celebrating its diamond anniversary year. Thanks for listening to Beaver County Radio.
We lost our co-host, man. That's okay. We'll just pretend. We'll pretend Eric's here.
Yeah, he's somewhere.
He had to step out for a moment.
Just for a second.
We're not sure why. So, but back to your point, right? We were talking about the whole leadership thing. So, in your experience, have you been around people, Matt, that were not necessarily leaders by a position, but you knew when you walked in a room or they were in a job where you were that person was in essence a leader? And then why do you think that? I'm curious.
I want to say yes.
He's allergic to the hype, man. He's not going to feel that.
What?
He's allergic to the hype.
Okay.
He's not going to feel that.
I mean, there's an element to that too. I mean, you do have to be a little bit, I think that's sort of a part of the self-awareness too, where, I think that once you get to that point, and I talk about careening off the walls, and this is sort of in that element of careening, where once you realize that not everybody who's ever been in charge of you is the spiritual guidance that you need, all of a sudden you careen to the other side of the wall, which is being skeptical of every leader that is in your life. So, even if someone does have that presence of walking into the room and, sort of being this person of, I'm the one in charge and I will make sure everything gets done right and we'll all be happy about it, there's an element of you is like, oh, what's the catch? But there have been people like that who have, talked the talk and then go on to walk the walk. I can't remember any of them right now, but I'm sure that
they put them on the spot.
Yeah.
I will tell you point blank, and he's going to be mad at me as we drive home here today.
Of course.
But I think you are. I think you are that person, at least the person in my sphere, that walks into a room. There's a presence there. There's a calmness that happens. And I'm not making this up, but there's been, I can't tell you how many people in our mutual sphere have said this over and over and over again. And I just see it happen. Like you might not realize it or recognize it, but you walk in there, things are, Rocco's here. It's like, there's the mood of the room is enhanced when you show up, but not in a crazy, like, people don't go nuts. They just really, there's a level of comfort.
Thank you.
There's a level of comfort there. I know I felt it. And I think that is an intangible that serves you as an individual attorney, but also is what you are instilling on the aura of your firm.
Yeah.
At least from a distance, is what I'm kind of observing. And it's probably hard to articulate it, but there's a calming presence that you bring, because the highs are never real high verbally, and the lows are never low. So you're working in a nice range, and that's conveyed to those around you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's and again, that comes from meditation. Like I was telling you in the break, the one guy I golfed with on Thursday, banker friend, he says I rattle him because he never sees me rattled. Like, he's never seen me lose my cool, lose my patience. Like, and I do every once in a while, but for the most part, like, I stay rather level-headed in most situations and don't. Even my employees said they've never seen me get mad, because to me, and again, one of those disciplines I have is meditation. Like, every single day, I meditate. Maybe it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but that keeps me calm and centered.
Yeah.
So even if I'm having like a really frustrating day, like 2 weeks ago, I had that really just rough week, like totally focused on a presentation, shut everyone in the world out. It was just like, and there were many times where I would just set alarm on my phone or a timer on my phone for 6 to 8 minutes and just sit in my chair like this and just let my mind rest. And that helps so much, and it keeps me calm. And it's something I've done for years. And I think by doing that, I can look at most situations and not get rattled by them, because I know I have that calmness about me, and I know that I'm confident enough in the skill set I've built that I can handle any problem thrown at me. It is, and it's something you develop over time. But I would encourage anybody, like when we talk about the disciplines you have, reading, 100% agree with. Like, if you're not growing, you're dying, in my mind. So if you're not reading and trying to learn new things, what's the point of life? Other things, meditation would be one of them. And people think it's hard. It's not. Just sit there in silence for your mind will run. You'll think about things. That's okay. It's just letting your mind free.
I need to learn that.
It's an amazing thing, and I would encourage it.
I have a new plan.
Yeah. Just don't meditate while we're driving home. Because you'll be driving. Well, if I just see you turn over like this in the car, probably going to be the best thing for us.
I think of that one animated character in whatever movie it was. He was a squirrel or a chipmunk, and he was always meditating or acorns or something. I don't know. I mean, it's one of the movies my kids must have watched over the last 20 years or so.
Well, next week, the first 5 minutes of the show, we will do a guided meditation.
Oh,
I'm kidding.
That'll translate great to...
I will kick you out of the building.
That will translate great to, like...
radio,
right? Yeah.
Let your mind free.
Let's talk a little bit about reading.
Yeah.
Because it's like, if anything... Listen... Moving into my 30s, I was a very undisciplined person. I was careening from wall to wall and somehow doing pretty well with these lackadaisical disciplines. And I started to slowly adapt disciplines. Roan, a big part of it. But the one that Roan really instilled in me from day one was, Eric, when's the last time you read a book? I had to go back.
Yeah.
I had to go back to about a year out of high school. So I had to go back almost like 8 or 9 years.
Wow.
Where I could answer that question that I read a book from cover to cover. That was embarrassing. Now, I read magazines. I read all kinds of other stuff. So I knew how to keep, the process of reading there.
It's not the same.
No, it's not. So Jim Rohn had this thing, these are my 15 books I recommend for everyone to read. It's just my list. You don't have to adopt it, but just it is what it is. So I bought like 8 or 9 of these books, and I did it.
Yeah.
The art, one of them was Lessons of History by Durant.
Okay.
Little book. I was like, wow. Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah. It's a great book.
Wow.
Powerful book.
Like, holy smokes, right?
Yeah.
The Wealthy Barber.
Okay.
By Chilton, I believe.
Okay.
These weren't hard reads, but they were impactful because it made me realize, wow, I can get through this 200-page book and I got something from it. let me try this one. So then, 2 or 3 years in, he made the challenge: read War and Peace. Mm-hmm. Even if you don't dig it, force yourself that you can complete it. I did it.
Yeah,
it was okay. Mm-hmm. It was an exercise, but I did it. Mm-hmm. The point is, I think that we have so many people don't read. So many people are walking around there with rickets of the mind. Mm-hmm. They don't read. They don't ingest.
Well, you have. That's how your mind is a muscle, right? And yeah, you can read news articles, and it's not the same thing. Digging into a topic like a book. I mean, I started taking reading seriously when I graduated law school. I mean, I read a ton in law school, right? Because I had to, but I started reading in my mid-20s, and most weeks I read 1 to 2 books. I mean, every single year I'll read at least on a minimum 60 to 65 books a year. Some years a lot more than that. And some of them are books that I don't like. I just finish them. Some books I may not finish the full way because I'm not getting anything from this.
Is it all nonfiction or do any fiction books?
I've read fiction books like On Vacation, just interesting ones like the Dan Brown books, Da Vinci Code. I read all of those. Mm-hmm. I like nonfiction or like business biographies because to me it's like that's where my mind goes. That I'm always thinking that way, so I like to challenge myself. To one, I started reading like the Success Principles again. I started reading The Law of Success, which is an older book. What's the other one? Cyberkinetics is another. It's just a way of thinking. Right now, I'm reading this one again. The 3 things a CEO should do. Like these are all good books, and I have a list of probably 15, 20 books I would recommend someone to just read or reread. Mm-hmm. And
that's your book list.
Yeah, but I love, and I hold the book. I don't do like the Kindle or an iPad. Like I like a physical book. And to me, like that's learning. And like I highlight things. Mm-hmm. I'll take notes in the margin sometimes. Absolutely. Because it's how else do you learn at this age, right? We're not in school. Like I have my profession, so I'm learning in my profession. I'm taking continuing education, developing new practice skills, but just about life and business and personal development in general. How else am I going to learn other than reading something from someone else? And people think, well, I listen to YouTube or those are all good things to do, right? But there is something different, a different level of expertise you develop by actually reading a book and digesting the book and then trying to talk about the book to someone else. Because that is the key piece I think that people miss when it comes to reading. Can you articulate what you read to someone else?
And I'd also like to mention too. I would suggest we all like a little bit of fun and
sure
in our lives, but I'd pass on the trashy stuff. I would pass as often
Define
as I can. Trash. Well, I mean, it's certainly subjective. It's subjective, right?
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. You may find something valuable in a trashy novel.
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But you can also find an uneaten donut at the bottom of the waste paper basket. But I wouldn't go through it. You know what I mean? I wouldn't go through it. It's an exercise I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
There's a chance maybe, but would you want to go through it? No. So
I'm just curious to find out what trashy novels you've read that has led you to that conclusion.
Matt, my brain is like, how that analogy? I'm like, wow.
Okay, so you're saying why am I finding a couple golden nuggets of lessons in this?
No, I was just trying to say, like, how are you equating a trashy novel to a half-eaten donut at the bottom of a garbage can?
Because you have to get through the novel, that trash to actually find the nugget of benefit. Right?
Oh, so the nugget is the donut.
Yeah,
got it.
Right.
Okay.
And you can find a half-eaten donut in the bottom of the trash can, but I wouldn't go through it.
No, you're right. Yeah, I get what you're saying. No, I was trying. No, you're right. Like I get it.
It's not my cliche. I'm just
no. I like it, and I think to your point. Like you're right. Like there are certain things.
It doesn't have to be sexual salacious. No. How about it just a waste of your time?
Right.
We read enough things that truly aren't benefiting our life. They're fun, and we can talk on the phone and people and funny memes and things.
Yeah,
that's a moment, right? But to read, to actually to really ingest over a period of time something that's not going to really benefit you or advance your career, enhance your life, provide quality to you that you can pass on to other generations, that's garbage to me.
But take it. But let me take it this way. So what if I read nonfiction, but then also read that. Like, to me, that's okay, right? If I'm reading
If it's
nonfiction,
recreation,
exactly, that's what I mean.
I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just suggesting.
No, I think it's a good point.
If your pure sense of reading is basically all the fluff and the trash, then you've obviously got a good skill set. You know how to read.
Yes.
Why not incorporate some good stuff there? And I'm not telling you what's good and bad, but something that's going to enhance your life.
Yes, I agree with that. Yes,
based on your
1000%.
interests, based on things you dig, right?
Yeah, I get that.
I don't know. I wouldn't go through a trash can because I knew at the bottom there might be a half-eaten donut there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go through it.
Yeah, I get it. I'm gonna burn all my trashy novels at home now.
I'm just saying.
I'm just joking.
Everybody's viewpoint of trashy is different,
I'm
right?
just messing
I'm
with you,
just
man.
saying.
No, it's a great point. It's a great point.
Is this?
The point is, if you're gonna spend your mental energy reading
It's
something,
time. You can't
it's
get
time.
it back.
Yeah, like put it to use.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know of, I'm trying to, sort of trying to calculate what Eric's saying, and I start thinking, oh, right, talk about, wasting time, the old film critics Roger and Ebert, they would complain about certain movies that felt like, stole 2 hours of their lives that they never get back. And they're, it was their responsibility, they thought, and they were right, to sort of recommend, hey, this took away 2 hours of our lives, don't go see that movie.
Yeah. Correct.
Yep.
And here's the thing that I struggle with the most.
Mm-hmm.
Like Matt, to a great degree, Matt and I, we bond over music. We love music.
Mm-hmm.
I think you do to a degree,
Yeah.
not to the same degree. It has a moment in your life.
Yeah,
It
absolutely.
has a place.
Yes, 100%.
But it's often attached to motivation with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly right.
I think where I struggle the most is, and I had to learn this over time, I had to intentionally go listen to music because I did not want to. Like, I rarely am I ever sitting at home I got a pretty impressive stereo. I never turn it on. It's crazy. I don't sit at home listening. Invariably, I will grab something to read. That had to be learned over the last 2 decades, right? Now, I listen to a lot of music in the car, but I also realized over time, sometimes that's not good either. Too much music.
Yeah.
Right? So I got books on tape. I mean, you have to moderate and manage your inputs.
Absolutely.
Right?
100%.
Whew, good show today. Come back for our last segment, folks, The Entrepreneur Life. Rocco Cozza, Matt Durzik. I am Eric McKenna. Stay with us.
It started with a road trip into the American Midwest. Huntington bankers with one mission, to understand how people made sense of money. And that's how we met Jason.
How do I save money? Jars. Whatever loose cash I have at the end of the day goes into the concert tickets jar, the vacation jar. You get it.
And that's how we came up with personalized goals for your savings accounts. Our customers give us the best ideas. Huntington, welcome. Member FDIC. Learn more at huntington.com.
The sales of summer are happening all throughout Beaver Falls this coming Saturday, August 20th. Enjoy special happenings at many merchants throughout town. There will also be entertainment. The Main Street and College Hill neighborhoods will be filled with street vendors, sidewalk sales, food trucks, antique cars, and Solid Gold Saturday afternoon on Beaver County Radio. Come see what Beaver Falls is all about. It's the Sales of Summer presented by the Beaver Falls Business District Authority and sponsored by the Antique Emporium, Vintage Torque, This and That Downtown, Hofstetter Auctioneers, and Beaver County Radio.
95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMBA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com, invite you to tune in to Sounds of Faith. Tune in Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 for a mix of the best sacred music of all time. Sounds of Faith is brought to you by Crawford Tire and Beaver, the William Murphy Funeral Home, City Rescue Mission, MRS Physical Therapy, Circle of Friends, J&J Spratt Funeral Home, and Rome Monument and Inspirational Gifts. Sounds of Faith, uplifting, relaxing, and inspiring radio. Sunday mornings from 7 until 9 on 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with WBVP, WMBA, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. Now entering our 75th year of serving Beaver County. You're listening to 99.3 FM, 95.7 FM, 1230 WBVP, and 1460 WMBA. Part of the St. Barnabas Radio Network.
Jazz is a journey.
Sure.
That might be the best exchange you ever had on the show.
I'm the realist in the room.
That was the equivalent of 2 brick walls coming down to slam that door shut.
Well,
I was just making. I said sure.
Well, Matt brought up a good point in the break, and all he said was that music can be intentional. Like he made a reference when I was in the guitar business. I went out and saw different kinds of music, different kinds of players to learn about the thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's very specific, but it led me to believe that I intentionally went and listened to jazz because I was challenged to do it, and I also kind of understood that I have to really immerse myself to see if I can, quote unquote, get it. And once I did, and I maybe moderated my anxiety, and I took the time to intentionally go listen to that, I fell in love with the different pathway that jazz music takes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Opened up a whole new realm of music to me. So now I think I've broadened it's a kaleidoscope of what I ingest musically now. So, but I had to intentionally go do it. Just like you have to intentionally make a decision, I'm going to read.
Yeah.
I'm going to improve myself. I'm going to get something out of here. Right?
Yeah. And I hate when people say I don't have time. You have time. Everybody has time. If
We
I
all-
can,
we
if
all
I
have
can,
the
if I can
same
read 2
time.
books a week, anybody can.
We all have the same time.
Right.
And it's we
read 5 pages a day. Just start there. Pick up a book and read 5 pages. Challenge you to do that.
That's a discipline.
It's
And
exactly.
it
It all
builds.
boils on the discipline.
And it builds.
Exactly.
And then you start to, quote unquote, enjoy it.
Yes, exactly.
And then all of a sudden it's not work.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden it's not a discipline anymore. It's basically something you yearn for.
Yeah, and here's the thing, though. But here's, I think, the rub. And this is why I think people have a hard time reading. Because we are trained now visually, right? We watch things on TV, on our phones. So our brain has to see the image to understand the story. When you're reading, your brain has to create the image to understand the story. So you have to actually read consistently, because it's really a switch in your brain you have to flip, because now when I read, like, I picture a person saying that. If I'm reading even a nonfiction, like, I picture the scenario, I'm visualizing
The beauty of books, man,
right? But
especially fiction books.
But if you're not a reader, your brain, that is not the default.
It's just words on a page.
It's words on a page. You're just like, it's just words. So you have to consciously tell yourself, I want to create this visual image in my head. So you may have to slow down when you read and really try and understand.
Well,
things.
you basically, what I had to do when I took it serious a couple decades ago is I had to retrain my brain in the way reading works.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
I needed to read for pure comprehension, not, read for pleasure. No. I need to understand how to read, so I'm comprehending what I'm reading.
Yep.
That led to the pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in law school, like, I read everything 3 times. So, like, we had, because here's what I did. My process was, I was a nerd. Like, I would read at the gym, like on the Stairmat, like, I would read all the time. So you had to do in law school, but I read everything 3 times. So the first time I read it, I just opened the book and read the chapter. Just did nothing, just read it, digested it. Second time I went through, I read it and highlighted big stuff, like big important things. So I was okay, these are the big concepts in this I need to understand. Third time I would go through, I would read my highlights and dissect it further. So I would circle things, underline things, take notes in the margins. I would basically kind of keep paring it down. And what it did is it trained me now. Now when I read books, I can read a page and I can close my eyes and know these are the 2 points from that page. My brain thinks in those
it's a
thirds
skill,
now.
man. It's a skill, and you can learn that.
It took me 3 years of law school to do it.
It's an incredible skill, and I'm not at that level. But the way I read today, I first off, I love it.
Yeah.
And number 2, I am a much faster reader than I was, but I think I actually get more out of it than I did 30 years ago,
Absolutely.
25 years ago.
Yeah, because the more you
but
read,
it's a skill. You gotta learn. It's a muscle.
It is. It really is, and people don't get that. It's like they get frustrated when they read, like, I don't understand it. It's too hard. Like, I'm bored. It's like, well, get through 5 books, because if you can get through 5 nonfiction books, your brain will be different. Your brain will be trained differently. You will see and digest and interpret information differently.
Well, internet's made us, not social, internet. The internet has made the last couple decades, it's kind of made us a little lazy.
And stupid.
I mean, the concept of books on tape is kind of insane, right? There's a great book there. There's a good book there, right? We're so darn lazy. We have rickets of the mind. I'm telling you, we don't exercise our brain. No, you don't even have to read the book. We know it's too tough to take all the words and ingest them and try to formulate things in your head. We're just going to like present it right to you in an audio standpoint because it's easy, right? I'm guilty.
Yeah.
I'm guilty. I have tons of audiobooks. My point is, we really, to learn better, I really believe to learn better, develop the skill of reading and ingest it on your own, at your own pace.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Learn from it.
Well, let me ask you. Well, no, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think, talking about the idea of comprehending your own thing and sort of allowing a book to make your own mind. I can't recall how many times I've either read a book or something along those lines and then saw a movie based on the book, and the visualization of what came to be was so much different from what I did.
Yep.
Because my mind,
of course,
the vision was different. I think a lot of people say that too when it comes to like movies and stuff. But that's part of it. You comprehend, you paint your own picture.
The book's better.
The book's better for your mind.
90% of the time, you hear people say the book's better.
Yeah.
Because, and again, you're creating a picture in your mind that's different from what I'm creating on the same book.
Yes.
But that's the beauty of it, man.
And that's why the book's better, because the book is viewed from your perspective.
You
not
own it.
From the director's
you
perspective.
own that
Yes,
story.
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly right.
Because you basically built it from what you ingested.
Yep. But to your point about audiobooks, I think there is a place for them. So
there's a place
what I
for
do,
them. There's a place.
Any book I'm reading, I also usually get the audiobook.
I do that too.
And I love it because it allows me to take it in two different modalities.
Absolutely.
And it reinforces the things I'm learning. Now, not for every book, but like books I really want to digest and learn that are really like technical, that's what I'll do.
It has its place. And all I was saying is they're not useless. I'm just saying it's kind of a shame that they even exist.
Right.
But they exist because humans refuse to read.
Yeah.
That's why they exist.
Well, then I might need a side hustle later on.
you have the voice for audiobooks, Matt.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
I'm going to have you read my book on audio.
There you go.
I don't have an audiobook for it yet, so there you
go.
Matt.
Matt, thank you.
Yes,
Rocco, thank you. Friends, thank you for giving us 2 hours of your Saturday.
Yeah.
Please be nice to each other.
Yes, be kind.
At CozzaLaw.com, EricMcKenna.com. Check us out, the Eric McKenna Podcast. Excuse me, Eric McKenna Project Podcast.
Yeah.
These two gentlemen have been on it. Check us out, YouTube, Facebook, and of course, please come back and see us next week. We'll see you.
Thanks for listening to The Entrepreneur Life with attorney and author Rocco Cozza, along with realtor and podcaster Eric McKenna. Content and sponsorship have been provided by Rocco Cozza and Eric McKenna. Tune in next Saturday at 10:30 a.m. for another edition of Your Entrepreneur Life right here on Beaver County Radio.
If it's Saturday afternoon, it must be time for Solid Gold Saturday. Whether you were cruising through the parking lots of Jerry's and Hank's or dancing at the Rochester Legion, these are the hits that Beaver County remembers. Solid Gold Saturday is brought to you by Gnu's Body Works, Bushy's Electric, the Pennsylvania Hot Rod Company, the Laughlin Insurance Agency, and J&J Spratt Funeral Home. Now your host for Solid Gold Saturday, J.D. Merkel.